He's the congressman representing Florida's 28th district and serves on the Armed Services Committee, the Homeland Security Committee, and more. He is a native of Cuba, which he fled as a young boy after the communist takeover, and knows firsthand the importance of securing our freedoms. Here to address the unrest in Venezuela, the call for Supreme Court reform, and more is Congressman Carlos Gimenez. Congressman, thank you for being here. Congressman, you recently said after 25 years of economic instability, political corruption, human rights violations, the Venezuelan people turned out in record numbers to defeat the dictatorial Maduro regime at the ballot box. Congressman, what do you make of the current situation in Venezuela, and has Maduro hijacked that election?
Oh, without a doubt, we knew that Maduro was going to hijack the election, and we knew that he was going to lose and lose by a big amount. Maria Corina Machado has the proof. She has about 80% of the actual paper ballots, and in those 80% of the paper ballots, she's saying that the president should be a gentleman by the name of Edmundo Gonzalez, who got over 70% of the vote. So even if the other 20% went 100% for Maduro, 100%, which is highly unlikely, they wouldn't have enough votes to win. And so, yeah, we knew Maduro was going to steal this election. We knew that the promises that he made to the Biden administration that lift the sanctions, that we're going to have free and open and democratic elections, was totally false. He proved that on the first week, for God's sakes. He disqualified the number one candidate, which is Maria Corina Machado. She would have actually gotten more votes than Edmundo Gonzalez. And so we knew that it was a farce to begin with.
Should the United States lead our regional partners, as Trump did in 2019, and impose sanctions against Maduro in Venezuela?
Oh, without a doubt, we should impose sanctions. We should embargo Venezuelan oil. We should also impose sanctions even on our friends who buy Venezuelan oil. We need to, really isolate the Maduro regime. This is a bunch of bandits, man. This is a country that's led by a criminal enterprise. All the money that they make off that oil goes right into the pockets of these crooks, and then they're just, what they're doing to their own people is beyond the pale. There's millions of people in the streets right now protesting and demanding that he relinquish power, but he will not relinquish power. People like this do not relinquish power. You have to take it from them. And the people are rising now, and hopefully they'll keep it up, keep the pressure on, and he'll have to leave. The sooner the better.
Congressman, I want to get your take on President Biden's proposal to reform the U.S. Supreme Court. I know you object to these reforms. Why and how do you see this as being related to what's unfolding in Venezuela?
Well, when Hugo Chavez took power back in 2000, one of the first things he did was he reformed the Supreme Court, and he stacked it with his people to the point that the government never loses a case anymore. And so what he's done is who made Maria Corina ineligible? The Supreme Court. So you get all of the Supreme Court to verify all the bad things and illegal things that you're doing. And that's extremely, extremely dangerous. First of all, it's unconstitutional what Biden's trying to do. You can't impose term limits on the Supreme Court justices because it's guaranteed the life term. It's actually guaranteed in the U.S. Constitution. He actually has changed the U.S. Constitution in order to do that. And one thing you also don't want to do, look, all these dictators, what they do is they stack a Supreme Court, then they claim a crisis, let's change the Constitution, and then they change the Constitution to benefit themselves. Don't tinker with our Constitution. It's worked for 250 years. It's working just fine. But again, that's the lesson to learn from these third world country and third world dictators.
Yeah, well, it turns a separate branch of government that's supposed to be autonomous into essentially an agency under the purview of the president. I mean, that's in essence what it would do in practicality. Congressman, it appears Kamala Harris will be the Democratic nominee for president. You and your colleagues in the House of Representatives voted to condemn border czar Kamala Harris, and the House resolution passed with bipartisan support. 6 Democrats joined you all in that condemnation. What is your assessment of the vice president's border record, and how will she address the border and illegal immigration should she become president? She claims it's under control now. In fact, illegal crossings have descended, she says.
Yeah, I mean, they may have been, there may be fewer crossings today than there were last month, but heck, we're having 10 million people cross the border under her watch, and she was named the border czar. She was put in charge of the border, and she's done a dismal job at it. She wanted additional resources for the border, claiming that was the issue. Well, wait a minute. If you have a dip in illegal immigration right now, you didn't get any more money. You just changed maybe a couple of your policies. We said all along, all you have to do is change the policies, go back to the Trump era policies, and the border will be fixed. Look, she's extremely dangerous. She is hyper liberal to the point that she was even rated more liberal than Bernie Sanders, a self-proclaimed socialist. The things that she says, has said, and the positions she's taken are dangerous to this country, to the security of this nation. And she really has no business being president of the United States. But they're trying to repackage her now. No, I really didn't mean all that stuff. I didn't mean that we wanted to defund the police. I didn't mean that we needed to clean out our jails. I didn't really want to give bail to those rioters during in 2020. I didn't really mean that we need to ban fracking and force everybody into electric cars. I didn't mean any of that. And also, by the way, we're going to take away your health insurance too. That's just the icing on the cake.
Congressman Gimenez, in your role as a member of the Homeland Security Committee, you recently traveled to Butler, Pennsylvania, the site of that attempted assassination of former President Trump. Just this week, new eyewitness video emerged of what looks to be a shooter moving across the roofline of that building adjacent to the rally. What did you see while you were there? And are you satisfied with the answers you've been given so far in this investigation?
No, not at all. That's a massive failure. What happened there? There were so many times that shooter could have been stopped, and he just he did everything he had to do, but actually not much, because all he did was he scoped it out, he ranged it, he looked, he did some stuff with a drone, and then he got on that roof. Yeah. He got on that roof, and then he took, an angle, and he had a clear shot at the president. There were so many times that could have been stopped that it wasn't. It was a failure of planning. It was a failure of communications. It was failure to put the people in the right place. Look, a lot of people have said, hey, they had some snipers in that building out the window. Well, that window is only about that big. And unless you stuck your head out the window, you couldn't see them. They should have been on the roof of that building. If that would have happened, that he would have never gotten away with it. Why they were inside instead of being on the roof, that's another question. Was there communications between the local and Secret Service? And if there wasn't, which I believe there was not, all right, that's a cardinal sin of event planning. And so, look, I've been in charge of many large incidents as the mayor of Miami-Dade County. Everybody has to be in the room. Yes, they can't be on the same frequency, but everybody has to be in the room to communicate it. And when did the Secret Service detail know that there was actually they were looking for somebody that could be a menace or a threat to the president? And why didn't they take him off the stage? All those questions need to be answered. This should have never, ever happened. It's a failure of epic proportions on the Secret Service.
8 shots. How does a 20-year-old, goofy kid get on top of a roof and fire 8 shots at a former president and perhaps a future president? And it's really outrageous. I couldn't believe it. Well, I was watching it live and had friends there, who were covering it at the time. Before I let you go, in breaking news today, a major prisoner swap was announced, the largest we've ever seen between Russia and the West, including Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich and former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan, among others from at least 7 countries in all. Congressman, here's my question. What do you make of the timing of this release, and might it be politically motivated?
Look, that's a tough call, right? I mean, if you're the family of these folks that have been held in Russia, I mean, you want them back at any cost. But
I get it.
The reality of it is that what's the cost to U.S. national security and also international security? There was apparently a convicted murderer that was also let go back to Russia, and so The message needs to be, don't go to Russia, all right? Because they're going to use you as a pawn, and then you put the United States in a very, very difficult position. You know, there's the human side, and then there's the security side. But you know, we've got to take stronger positions on this. Look, what we did with Iran, I guess, we gave them $5 billion for some exchanges there too. And so all they're going to do is that they're going to, hey, we need a couple of $1 billion. Let's pick up some Americans here. And so we need to do a better job of that and keeping Americans out of harm's way and making sure that Americans don't travel to places they shouldn't be traveling, so that we're not put in this position. But that's a really, really tough call. You know, if I were a family member, I'd want my loved ones back, you know, no matter what the cost.
No, well, God bless them, and I'm glad they're back, especially, you know, Evan, who is, you know, a fellow journalist and was there covering Russia. I mean, this is the problem. You need independent journalism there, so, you know, it's not like he was on a luxury tour, but it puts him in harm's way and, you know, does compromise the United States position on some level. Congressman Carlos Gimenez, thank you for being here. We'll leave it there, and we'll check in with you soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.